Check, check, testing. Check, testing, sound, check. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 2 of the CMSC iRacing F4 Championship. My name is Nevan Jayawardena, and you join me once again in the commentary box for our second round at Winton Raceway. Testing one last time, check. All right, everybody. Sorry for that. We are now back at Winton Raceway and we are on for round two. You join us for our practice session with 5 minutes down, 5 minutes left rather. It is a sunny day as of right now on the track, but the weather could change in a bit. Who knows? It's all up to the drivers at this point. Need I remind once again, we are racing the F4 cars, a spec series where all the cars are equalized, leaving it all up to the drivers. And now we have personal driver numbers. So now it'll be easier to identify the drivers, especially for you guys at home. We have Shyamal Mendis running the number 4, Brian Pereira, the number 55, Savi Ratnayaka, the number 69, Denan Abesekara, the number 88, Tiago 81, Abdullah Ayaz in 53, Kevan Samarajiva in the number 13 car, Padmaka Vijayagunawala number 6, Buddhiga Chaturanga in 16, Shevan Vitaran in number 5, and of course there's many more drivers, and we'll introduce you to them once again as soon as we have practice session complete and the drivers move on to qualifying. But as of right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are racing at Winton Raceway in Australia. It is an iconic motorsport complex that hosts many famous motorsports. Of course, today for our drivers, it is going to be quite the challenge, as it's not like what we've seen before, especially at Virginia International Raceway. We have many forms of racing here at Winton Raceway. We have tour car racing, Trans Am, Australian GT, the supercars also, the V8 supercars also ran here once, and of course now the Formula 4s in the virtual scene, where we can have all our talented Sri Lankan drivers take to the track and absolutely duke it out here at Winton in Australia. Looking at the minimap there on your screen, everybody, we can see that the track hosts a wide variety of opportunities to overtake. As we can see, Tehan Eranga going for a beautiful round the outside overtake there down the start-finish straight, proving that this track has many opportunities to overtake. And we can see the pit entry also proving to be quite the dodgy one, as well as somebody goes flying off the track there. Must have been a misjudge of the brakes there, but it's practice. This is where the drivers can properly test out the limits of their car and check out to see where exactly they went wrong. But Winton Raceway, a track where if you've been at the practice sessions, you'd know that the cars are quite dicey around this track, and it will test the aerodynamics of the car as well as the driver's capabilities of trying to follow in dirty air, because as you can see there, I think there was a mistake on Praveen Peter's half. But yes, this track can be quite dicey, leading the drivers to control not just their own game, but also following other cars around, as dirty air can be multiplied by following multiple cars. It's all up to the drivers here, and it's all up to their driving capabilities, as the cars are all equalized, setups are equalized, and yeah, it's the test of talent at this point. Big thanks once again to Chama Computers and Next Level Racing Rigs, as well as iRacing, for providing the codes to have this event hosted by CMSC. And of course, CMSC, thank you to hosting this event to bring out our talents here, not just in the real world, but prepping us to race in the real world through esports. My apologies there, everybody. But as of right now, we're watching quite the battle in practice here between Denan Abesekara, the number 88, falling behind, I believe that's Tehan Eranga, who is a car ahead as somebody spins onto the track there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the fourth wall is active. So we should be... Oh, there's a terrifying crash there. That's definitely race ending. 3 wheels and the rear wing gone, I believe, of Brian Pereira's. But yes, we have the fourth wall that is now active, and now we should be able to follow on the cars and stick to those very interesting track battles before the camera just kind of dips out. I mean, last time the camera dipped out before we could see a battle take place, but now we have the fourth wall active. Now we can actually see battles unfold in front of our very eyes, as we're looking for some onboard track action, as many are in the pits. I'm presume to try and change the small bits of aero like wing angles. It's all up to driver preference, of course. Some drivers could like a snappy end for oversteer, and some drivers could like understeer as Brian Pereira tries to rejoin the track there. And the guys behind did quite the job trying to avoid Brian there. That's brilliant. So as of right now, the guys on track. We have less than a minute to go in the session, so it's all up to the drivers now to perfect whatever they need to do with their setup and hopefully get their cars ready to race order. As Brian Pereira actually, I believe, wanted to stop on track, but hinders other drivers on track. But it is practice. It's up to the race stewards' decision there. But that is quite the dodgy rejoin. As of right now, we have nearly less than 15 seconds, I must say, in the session to go in the practice session. And I believe now, everybody, we are going to move to qualifying. So now is the chance, or now is the last chance, I should say, for the drivers to perfect whatever they need to in the setup before they all get suddenly respawned back into the pit lane. And now we are going to progress to qualifying. Buckle up, everybody. Qualifying begins. Alright everyone, we are on for qualifying as it is officially underway as the cars try to race out of the pits. Typical session, we have 15 minutes here in the qualifying session, and now everyone, it's a matter of balance. The drivers have an out lap as well as a fast lap. So this lap is crucial to getting your car up to temperatures, brakes, tires, everything, as well as getting your lines set, ensuring that your car is all set to race, and then it's pedal to the metal for the push lap. As we ride on board Shyamal Mendis, the number 6 car. Oh, there's 2 number 6s. There's Padmaka Vijayagunawardena and Shyamal Mendis. Okay, so of course, thankfully, Padmaka's car and Shyamal's car are very different in their liveries. So we should be able to tell the difference there. But now, all the drivers are going to ensure that their tires and brakes and everything in their cars are up to temp, and then it's a fast push. Now, the compromise is, I believe everybody wanted to leave the pits as early as possible to try and get clean air, which would be beneficial in a track like this. But the other drivers behind the lead car are definitely going to struggle a bit with that dirty air coming off the back of that leading car. As you can see, Shyamal Mendis dropped quite a ways back from the lead car. I believe the lead car is Brian Pereira. Yes, as Brian Pereira starts his lap, you can see all the cars kind of drop back a bit to try and gain some clean air going into this track and start the lap as Brian goes a little wide, pushing the boundaries of Winton here. But yes, now as Brian's on a lead lap and fast lap, he is going to push that car to its absolute limits and try to keep the car in the track limits. You can see there. Brilliant, brave line there from Brian Pereira. But yes, everyone, we have the cars now on their push laps. It's all up to the drivers as Brian has a little bit of netcode problems there. I think he'll have to abort that lap. I'm not entirely sure. But yes, all the cars on their push lap right now. It's all a matter of trying to get the car rotated, positioned in the right position. My apologies there, everyone. Positioned in the right place of the track, and eventually try and set the fastest lap, because remember that the top 8, I believe, will be reversed as it was in round 1 at Virginia. So I believe your 8th place finisher will be first for the first heat 1 that is. So let's see and wait for our first times to hit the board. That's Brian Pereira who crosses the track, who crosses the line. Oh, Shyamal Mendis bests him, setting a 119.482. And Tenan Abesekara goes by 120. Savi Ratnayaka just 1,000. Tenan there. The absolute slimmest of margins as Savi sets 1,000 of a time slower than Denarabe Sekara. Brian Pereira 20.7, Abdullah Ayaz with 0.8, and I believe that is Mushin with 122.1. So, Tehan Erang at a time here, we're following on board. And I believe that was, Thiago Pereira has also set a time on the board, 120.3. Shyama Mendes still the first fastest. Tehan Eranga, there he goes, 18.4 and knocks Denan out of the second spot. Denan now third, in fourth, Thiago Pereira in fifth. As you ride on board, Thiago there with a very different colored car this time round. Yellow, black and red for a striking livery he had last time. I do believe that is not the last time we will see that livery. But as of right now, I believe Thiago is running the current livery, new livery. But the number 81 is the way we can identify there, as we can identify Thiago. So, no new times set on the board as of right now. Muchin will be first place actually. Abdullah Ayaz will be second and Brian Pereira in third. Are these tactics that Brian is going for? Maybe to try and set a fast enough lap time to try and qualify up in third place for the first heat? Or is he, or was the previous lap not what he wanted? The net code dip certainly wasn't what he wanted, as somebody does go a little faster. I believe that's Shivan Vitarna in P4, setting 119.8. So we can expect cars in the late 119s. Shyama Mendes still holding the 119.482 as a riding on board right now to try and see if he can best that lap time. Does he improve? As he waits to see the car cross the line, Shyama Mendes does not improve, or maybe he's going for a new lap right now. My apologies. But as of right now, Sandeep Gunaratne sets a time of 121.7, setting him in 9th position. Abdullah Ayaz 8th position and Brian Pereira in 7th. No improvement from both the drivers as of yet. But as it stands, Shyama Mendes is your current pole sitter. As we now follow on board on chase cam with Shyama Mendes. You can see, yes, now that the fourth wall is active, it is amazing to have the car cams being switched in live time, all to bring you, everyone at home, a better racing experience as you would see in real life. So Shyama Mendes riding on board with him right now, we can study his lap time. You see the classic in out, as in out in out, my apologies, going sharp into the apex and maximizing the exit, going wide on the line there. Shyama Mendes currently a pole sitter as he goes to the penultimate corner, the double hairpin, as you try and maximize that line into the pit entry. Another apex and maximize that line again and power down the start-finish straight. Can he improve on his previous lap time? Nothing said. I believe then that means he has probably jumped track limits, but nope, there we go. It's been updated. It's a 119.3. Shyama Mendes has improved 1/10 going up, and now who knows if he's going for another fast lap. I doubt he will be, but never say never. Tehan Eranga riding on board with him right now in the cockpit cam, and now back to our TV cams off board on track. Still setting up 119.4. He has nearly 2/10 to try and catch up to, around 2/10 to try and catch up to Shyama Mendes there, with nearly 8 minutes left in the session. It's still not over yet. We can see a last minute run from some driver. Never say never with these guys. I mean, absolutely amazing powerhouses on track. Of course, Tehan Eranga being given the opportunity to race Sodi karts by CMSC. Real talent to watch out. His performances in the ACC Championship as well. Look out for, as there's a spin on track. That's Sandeep Gunaratne round the number 8, I believe. Yes, it's the number 8, and that's expect more of that here going forward, everyone, because qualifying is the only place you can actually push these cars to the limit, push these absolute machines to the limit in an effort to try and get higher up on the pecking order. But yeah, that mistake's going to cost Sandeep Gunaratne there going forward. But there's still around 7 minutes left in the session. There's still enough time, assuming that each lap takes 1 minute 20. Each driver should have 3 minutes to their disposal to try and get one out lap and a push lap. around that, I would say. So Denan Abesekara running another striking livery. We remember Denan with the SpongeBob livery last time round, but this time he's running a white Carrera livery, it appears, with the number 88 plastered on the front car as we go on board. Denan Abesekara for a lap. The man is on control, and he is lightning quick on controller. As you remember from round one at Virginia, gave quite the fight with Thiago Pereira as he goes a little. I don't know if iRacing will invalidate that lap, but it doesn't seem like it. Denan is still pushing. But Denan and Thiago gave us quite the fight in round one, I believe, of round one. Heat one of round one at Virginia. The two meme lords, as they like to call themselves, running the SpongeBob and the Gunther Steiner livery, which I missed apparently last time. But as we rewind Denan's session to try and see if he made a mistake there, he rides the curb, and I believe that he cooks it a little bit into this following corner here. Yeah, he misses the apex, unfortunately. So, unfortunately for Denan there, that's probably going to cost him a little time. But thank you to the fourth wall for actually showing us that analysis that I missed while running on board. But Denan will round the final corner as we're running on board Saviratnayak at the number 69. To see who crosses the line. Can Denan improve on that time? He will be looking to improve, but I don't believe he did, unfortunately for him. Denan will still hold on. Third place as somebody goes wide. That's Praveen Peter. Ooh, must have been a lock up there. Or maybe a quick return to the pits in an effort to try and set another lap time. 4 minutes, or nearly, I should say, 4 minutes 45 left in the session here for the drivers to try and set. Now, everyone, I doubt we're going to see drivers do a back-to-back push lap, but should things get desperate, the drivers, I believe, will start a push lap back-to-back to try and improve on their time, as now we're on board Shyama Mendes, the current pole sitter, with a 1 minute 19.3 or 3. No, 119.2. My apologies there, everyone. Shyama Mendes is actually 119.258. And I believe we're going on board for a lap Shyama Mendes right now. Current pole sitter who knows his way around the track with that Chama liveried F4 car there. Somebody as well is wide on the track. The wonderful camera shots now provided by thankfully we can give you more racing action here, everyone, as opposed to what we had last. Now we can actually run and experience the battles never before. So big improvements, small improvements, but an improvement nonetheless. Shyama Mendes, your current pole sitter. As you see, Tehana Ranga set his personal best of 119.4. Still not enough to try and catch up to Shyama Mendes there. Denan Abesekara currently 119.7. Shyama Mendes round the final corner. Is he going to improve here and make it difficult for Tehana Ranga to try and chase him as he waits for the leaderboard to update? Has he improved? Has he pushed it? I don't believe he has, as he gets a little dicey there on the exit. No, it hasn't been recorded. So let's go back and see that once again. You can see going into the first corner, going into the right there, the curb upsets the car, and for a split second, Shyama Mendes loses contact of the ground, leading him to go a little wide, catching the car practically on exit. Brilliant driving there from Shyama Mendes. The cockpit camera showing just how much the drivers have to wrestle their cars around these corners here at Winton Raceway. Very different track to Virginia International Raceway, of course. Testing more of the drivers' capabilities in a lower, less undulating track, but more corner-centric track, so to speak. Shahan Silva improving with a 120.9, and Brian Pereira currently in 5th place with a 119.8. Shyama Mendes, who unfortunately did not have the greatest race last time, has got a better race as of right now. But I do not want to enact the commentator's curse, as I eventually proved in the first round. Let's leave it up to the drivers to see where they place. As of right now, Brian Pereira there on the exit. He won't be too happy. Yep, he's stopping the car right on track in an effort to try and get back on track, but I believe that attempt is going to be futile as we have 1 minute 40 left. So Brian Pereira could just dip around the track. I do not know if the drivers have an extended time to try and finish their current lap times as Denan gets a little too there too. I believe that's Sandeep Gunoda there. Very close there. But I hope, at least for Brian Pereira, that he could get around in track on time as I see a little bit of racing action going on between Denan here. And that's a little big line. Denan whips back in qualifying. Good racing here in qualifying. That's hopefully what we'll need to see come the race. But Brian Pereira, in an attempt to try and get around the track in time, we can see all the drivers on track right now. For those who are on track and did not see the time, I believe, without teleporting back to the pits, they're going to try and maximize on that. As Denan goes a little wide, they're going to compromise his time. Only time will tell. So Brian Pereira, in an effort to try and set a faster lap time, immediately parked the car there and towed it back to the pits. And he's now going to attempt to try and get to the line before the timer runs out. But it's going to be up to iRacing to see if there is extended time for the drivers to finish a lap. As Denan improved as he crosses the line, we're waiting for the updated times of the leaderboard as Denan pushes it. Look at that. Through the chicane as he's going to drive it to the absolute limit. I believe that's the start finish straight. Of course, this track hosting very different motorsport disciplines. Each track or track layout could have a different form of start finish straight. As you see the drivers teleported to the pits, there will be extended time as we get a beautiful glimpse of Winton Motor Raceway. That's your order, ladies and gentlemen. Peter, Savi Ratnayaka, Brian Pereira. The reverse grid order going into Heat 1. As Shyama Mendis, Tehane Ranga and Denan Abesekara set the podium, it is now going to be a complete and total flip for the first 2 8th positions. As we're seeing the countdown now, Sandeep Gunaratne there, going a little wide there. And everybody practically spinning out. Strangely enough, all the drivers seem to suddenly want to do donuts. But yes, everyone, we are now going to move on to first heat, race 1, with Praveen Peter, Savi Ratnayak and Thiago Pereira leading the way. Why is everybody doing donuts? There we go. I believe they were waiting to be teleported. But everyone is now set for heat 1 as he wait for the green flag.
Green, green, green.
Green, green, green. Here the iRacing spotter, and we are underway, and there's a collision already. Sadly, that's a collision already at the back of the grid, and that's Brian Pereira already up first place, followed by Savi Ratnayak, Denan Abesekara, Thiago Pereira, and Shyama Mendis, who has climbed from 8th place to 5th. So far, Brian Pereira in the lead, going to have quite the benefit going into the start of the race with clean air. Savi Ratnayaka and Denan Abesekara are going to have to duke it out in that dirty air as Denan looks on the outside. Remember, Denan's on controller there, everyone. Savi Ratnayaka, the number 69, currently 9 tenths behind the cars as they don't seem to be doing battle. I believe that's a mistake on my part there, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone's driving quite composed there. I believe this is a warm-up lap in that instance. Can the fourth wall please confirm this is a warm-up lap by zipping between the cameras, if possible? If not, I believe we are, yep, we are zipping between the cameras. It's a yellow flag actually on track. I think it's a warm-up lap. But as it stands, yes, all drivers aren't full throttle. I believe it is a warm-up lap. As we go back to the replay and watch that race start, I think, of Brian Pereira, Savi getting quite the launch, and Brian absolutely zipping it up the inside of Savi Ratnayaka. A late braking incident following Denan to take first place. That is brilliant driving from Brian there. Shyama Mendis also got quite the race start there, climbing from 8th place to 5th. And I believe that is a warm-up lap, and there's collision as well behind. What happened there? Who knows, but as it stands, collisions on the race start. People not getting away on time as that's the collision. Oh, it's a safety car. It's a safety car. I believe this is the warm-up lap as... Whoa! Thiago gets very close to Denanabe Sekara there. Yes, I believe this is a warm-up lap brought out by the safety car. And I think it'll be a rolling start. So we are yet to see here. Everyone at home, stay tuned as we see a car there with extreme aero reduction going on. The safety car returns. And it's going to throw further chaos, I believe. As the safety car does not have its lights on, so I think the safety car will be coming into the pits here. So, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get racing very soon. That is Mushin, unfortunately, who got the collision. And the drivers are... No, the lights on the safety car are on. So I believe that we are going to... Yeah, we can see Mushin get waved by the safety car in an attempt to pit and change that front wing as Thiago Pereira also dips into the pits. This is interesting. So we are currently under a caution period, everyone at home. So we are yet to wait and see when the race director waves the safety car by, allowing the race to start. Many incidents off the bat, and we've already had chaos in round 1 or race 1 of round 2 here. Stick around, everyone at home. We are yet to see where this race goes. Stay tuned. So, we have, of course, the fourth wall ready to go. So, while we are in the caution period, let's go to our replays. As you can just watch that race start as oh dear, somebody didn't get off the line there, the number 7. But it is quite the race start we saw. Number 7 didn't get off the line, and Thiago Pereira taking absolute caution to try and avoid that car on track as there's chaos from behind. No wonder the race has been cautioned. Tehane Ranga getting caught up in the mix, and it's absolute pandemonium back there. The cars that actually escaped, Denan, Shyama, Thiago, they were lucky, but look at that absolute chaos on track behind there. Don't know what happened actually to the number 7. I believe the number 7 was Praveen Peter. But unfortunate for him, he probably could not get off the line well, leading to all the cars getting caught up there. On the race start. There's more chaos. The number 6 getting caught up in an incident, and many other drivers practically having a race-ending crash. But luckily for them, the safety car is out. As they're waiting to see, the safety car does not have its lights on. So I believe the drivers are going to get going this next lap as all the drivers form up double file, as you saw at Virginia International Raceway as well. So your current order, ladies and gentlemen, is Brian Pereira, Savirat Nayaka, Denan Abesekara, Shyamal Mendis, and Kevan Samarajiva, the number 13, Shahan Silva, Padmaka Vijay Gunawardana, Thiago Pereira, Mushin, and Sandeep Gunaratna. Your top 10 currently, as we are getting ready to get underway once again. All right, everyone. As the cars line up double file, we are gonna get ready to go underway here at Winton Raceway. It was quite the chaotic start, but now we're watching Padmaka Vijayagunawal, the number 6, and Kiago, the number 81. Of course, I myself am getting used to new driver numbers, so please do excuse me there, everyone, if I mix them up. But we have all our cars ready to go underway once again. Savi Ratnayaka, the number 69, getting ready to go with Brian Pereira as we're waiting to watch the race start.
Green.
There we go, green, underway once again. It's a rolling start. This time there should be not much chaos, as there is chaos once again in the back. I do not know who that was, but unfortunately there's been chaos off the race start again. This time, only one car, I believe, getting in the way. Is the safety car coming out once again? I did see it move. No, it's not. It's not coming out. Everyone is racing. We are racing once again, ladies and gentlemen. We are underway. Savi Ratnayaka chasing after Brian Pereira, the number 35 car, the red, but also being chased by Mr. Denan Abesekara, the number 88. Right behind Denan is Shehan Silva, as we're dipping between cameras. If you can focus on Denan Abesekara as well, and there's more behind. That was chaos. Who was that? I believe that was Tehane Ranga, who has been spun round and taken out. There's more. Praveen Peter, round again. What is going on here at Winton? It is absolute chaos. Wow. Everything kicked off in the span of 2 laps here. 2 racing laps, I should say. But that's Buddhiga Chaturanga we're following on board right now. If we can move up to the fight between Savi and Brian. Oh, there's a car around. Oh, this is a race start. If we could move up to the battle between Brian and Savi right now, as Denan is getting extremely close to Savi there. Denan, yes, there we go. We're riding on board Denan Abesekara, who is a mere 4 tenths away from Savi, within striking distance. But again, like I said at the start, everyone, these cars being spec series cars, it's all up to the driver. As you can see, Denan get quite the run on Savi there. As he's going to move to the outside, is Denan going to make a move here? Brilliant camera angles this time round from the race director and the 4th wall. Oh, Denan keeping a very tight line, as he has a little bit of a mistake there going into the first corner, as Denan is trying to keep it neat and tidy alongside Savi. All this fighting is going to retain Savi from chasing after Brian. But this time, Savi Ratnayaka keeping a level head against Denan, who's chasing him. If you remember, everyone, Denan running the Rocket livery, the Raccoon livery in ACC. No stranger to the esports world, former race director, now on track racing alongside everybody here. Man of many talents, as he's going to size up a move on Savi. Is he going to make a move into the penultimate corner? Nope, that was a dummy move. As you watch Savi and Denan duke it out for another battle. We have 3.5 minutes roughly left in the session. Will that be enough for Savi to keep Denan at bay? As Brian Pereira is running away, chasing after Denan, as Savi is dipping in and out. Head code issues, but no worries, ladies and gentlemen, they're still racing. Denan Abesekara still chasing after Savi Ratnayaka. These drivers, this is where Denan gained last time, as he attempted to try and gain there, but not enough. Everyone, we're watching quite the battle unfold between between second and third place. All play for, of course, in the points, because well, the drivers want the glory, and there's no greater glory than winning the championship. As wow, Denan gets very close to Savi there, but not enough, of course, for Denan to strike Savi there. As you see, Tehane Ranga, unfortunately, in the pits. That was a race-ending crash. It was Tehane Ranga who went round, unfortunately. Very sad, no. But Tehan, unfortunately, race ender. They're now riding on board Shevan Vitarna, chasing after Benitez. Is Shama Mendes? Or am I seeing things? Shevan Vitarna chasing after Abdullah Ayaz, I believe, in that Chama livery car there. It's all confusing here, but it does say Shama It does say, no, that is Shyama Mendes. My apologies. That is Shyama Mendes. It is very confusing here, everyone at home. But right now we're watching Shehan Silva. Sorry, my apologies. Denan Abesekara right on the bumper of Savi Ratnayaka, getting extremely close. There are 2 tenths separate these two drivers. It's all about a lunge. Is Denan going to commit an operation here? No, he will not. As he tries to keep it neat and tidy with Savi. The drivers are still duking out, Savi and Denan, as Brian is running away from the two drivers. Exactly what he would have wanted for sure. As Denan and Savi still battling out for second place. Denan Abesekara still hot on the gearbox of Savi Ratnayaka. He wants that second place because in the previous round he was denied of a win, but he did get second place. So is Denan chasing after the second place right now? I believe so. Savi Ratnayaka, who also had some unfortunate incidents last race, not in his control. A man who was quite strong at Virginia, trying to prove that right now, dominating Winton. He made absolutely neat and tidy. Literally wheel versus controller once again, as we saw Denan and Thiago fight. As Denan is going to look for side of Savi Ratnayaka. There we go. Denan has committed the operation. As Denan looks for the move round outside and sails round Savi Ratnayaka to claim P2. Provisional P2 with nearly 20 seconds on the clock, and I believe that is going to be a last lap overtake. Savi will obviously want to claw that back, that position, as we move to Thiago Pereira, who is in a P5 position right now. Slight body roll, as you can see. The F4 cars absolutely having chassis twist and everything with that right tire getting lifted off. But Savi looking mighty close to Denan again. Is he going to make the move? I think this is the final lap, as Brian Pereira is going to look for the move. As Savi gets very close to Denan there. Savi still hot on Denan's gearbox as he's trying to make a move into the penultimate corner. But ladies and gentlemen, as of right now, Brian Pereira is your race winner. As Savi cooks it a little bit, loses the rear end. That will mean it. That will be it for Savi Ratnayaka's chase for Denan, everyone. That is your current your current top 3. Brian Pereira wins Heat 1, followed by Denan Abesekara and Savi Ratnayaka in P3. Shehan Silva in P4 and Thiago Pereira P5. I thought they were going to collide there, everyone. But that was your race win, ladies and gentlemen. And now we move to replays of the race to try and see what we missed. Now that we have a person, the fourth wall, currently operating, you can see Kevan Samrajiva, that all too familiar CMSC livery, which he ran last year as well. Running a very different livery this time round. He ran a blue livery last time, if I remember correctly. But yes, we're following on board Kevan Samrajiva, who finished in P9. Followed by Shevan Vitarana in P10. Absolutely chaotic start there to the race, round 1, but that will be it. He was hoping going into the next race we're not going to have as much chaos. Now I believe the order will flip again. So I think Brian Pereira will now start 8th, Denan in 7th, and Savi in 6th. So let's wait and see here, everyone, as we move on to the second race. So everyone, as it now stands, the order has been flipped, meaning Buddhika Chaturanga is currently in P1, Dama Mendes in P2, and of course Sulaik Mushing in P3. And our top 3 from last race, Brian Pereira, Denan Abesekara and Savi Ratnayaka now in P8, 7 and 6. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for the spotted call green. P2 is now underway and cars get off the line beautifully. Shyama Mendes taking the early lead, runs away and there's chaos again. There's collisions. Oh my goodness. We have chaos once again. The start of a race. I do not know who was caught up in that, but Praveen Peter's noticeable car was there. Unfortunately, I believe that was Praveen Peter who got caught up in the incident there. But Shyama Mendes currently running away from Buddhika Chaturanga in P2 and Thiago Pereira in P3. Shyama Mendes keeping a cool head, remember, as he came first place in the qualifying. Now up in P1, Buddhika Chaturanga in P2, and Sulaik Mushin actually giving Thiago a run for his money right now. Thiago overtaken by Sulaik Mushin, and now up into P3. Thiago down to P4. Denan Abesekara in P5, Kevan Samarajiva in P6, Brian Pereira in P7 as Thiago's getting very close there to Sulaik Mushin. Is Thiago going to make a move on Sulaik and reclaim third place? We have to see. Look at how equally matched these drivers are in the cars. It's all up to where their experience in racing comes from. And Thiago, of course, no stranger to racing. A man who has won many endurances, many races, as well as esports races, and now they're going to go down the start-finish straight. Is Thiago going to have a late break, Daniel Ricciardo style overtake here on Sulaik Mushin, or is he going to fight him round the way? They are going to fight round the way. Round the chicane, they're still side by side, and Thiago is going to get the upper edge. Going into the outside as they're following on board. There's another overtake from behind. That was Denan Abesekara. We need a replay on that there. Everyone, if the fourth wall could kindly show us a replay of Denan's double overtake going into that corner. My goodness, that was a brilliant overtake. There we go. We're going to get this replay. We need to go on board Denan here. On board Denan. Denan Abesekara, and now I shall do this justice. Through goal Denan with that move on Sulaik and Thiago, caught them napping, and now Denan is free in P3 to fight Buddhika Chaturanga. He sails it, or dive bombs it I should say, around the inside. Another one of Denan's operations gone successful, as Denan is now chasing after P3 and will now chase after, I said Denan should be chasing after P2 now, chasing after Buddhika Chaturanga, and Thiago Pereira has also got back up into P4. Thiago and Denan gave us quite the battle in round 1. I would say the same for now as we're looking at Rajiva. Kevan cuts the inside, knocking off Brian Pereira from making that overtake. But Brian Pereira is itching to get past Kevan here as he's held up by Sulaik Mushin as well. As they both go wide, is that going to spell an easy overtake here for Brian Pereira? No, not yet. As Brian Pereira is going to get challenged by Shevan Vitarna as well. Shevan getting extremely close. All these drivers, this is the battle for P5 effectively. As it stands, you can see briefly the rear wing of Kevan Samarajiva. Inside there's collisions. There's a collision by Kevan Samarajiva to Brian Pereira. There's more. Kevan Samarajiva going absolutely wheel to wheel here. I hope, not I hope, but I believe Brian Pereira is fuming inside that cockpit with that kind of overtake, as Kevan is like really pushing Brian to the inside. But there we go, Brian is going to, no, Kevan still has his foot in. Kevan is still keeping a foot in and holding up Brian Pereira from chasing up Sulaik Mushin. With every lap that precedes, he's not going to have enough time, as Brian is going to look for a move around the outside going into the pit exit. And now Kevan has fought his way back up into position again. everyone at home. Sorry we went silent. I believe there were technical difficulties, but now we are back. Brian Pereira has been overtaken by Shivan Vitarna in the action I missed. My apologies for not commentating on it, but we are back up and running. Brian Pereira has been overtaken by Shivan Vitarna as Shivan and Kevan. As here we go, Brian Pereira remove Shivan Vitarna as the mobile chicane in the form of Kevan Samarajiva is proving it very difficult to get by as Brian ends it down the inside of Shivan Vitarna there. This man, Brian Pereira, having represented Lanka at the Olympics esports in Gran Turismo 7, as well as being an experienced Formula racer in real life. We can see Brian's experience coming to play there. But how will it hold up in round 2 against Kevan Samarajiva in P7? And we're following Tehane Ranga, who looks to be very close there to Suleik Mushin there. Very close, as Tehane Ranga is looking for the long way around on Suleik there. Yes, they get very close to each other. Suleik gets a little bit of a mistake, compromise, as now Tehane Ranga is looking for a move once again. Oh my goodness, this is very close. Oh, was there contact? I believe there was. Let's look at this once again. Tehane Ranga is now clear of Suleik Mushin. And you know who's not clear? Kevan Samarajiva, who has managed to... Oh dear, wait, what happened to Brian Pereira? Oh, there was contact between Tehane Ranga and Suleik Mushin. Suleik's probably not going to have nice words to say about that. But the drivers are back racing and it seems to be okay now. But we need to know what happened to Brian Pereira there. After we see this, alright everyone, we need to see where Brian Pereira lost out to Kevan Samarajiva. If we can just go back in time long enough to see where the mistake happened. Oh dear, there it is. So Brian Pereira was following Kevan Samarajiva and he tries to send it up the inside. Kevan closing the door on Brian there. Very close, Kevan still racing. Oh dear, that's not good for Brian there. If we can go on board probably the car behind that Shivan Vitarna in an attempt to try and see where Brian had the mistake, or if it was Kevan's, we do not know yet. But oh dear, it seems to be a bit of a netcode issue. But if netcode wasn't a problem, I believe Brian may have gone over Kevan's tire there. Is that a mistake on Brian's behalf? Is that a mistake on Kevan's half? I'm not one to judge, but I believe I'll leave that up to the stewards. But that's race ending there for Brian and losing out a chance on potentially finishing at a high enough position enough to gain some points in the championship fight here. But that's Brian Pereira down in P10 and Kevan Samarajiva in P8 actually. Shivan Vitarna has overtaken Kevan Samarajiva and you can see just how much Shivan Vitarna was being held back by Kevan Samarajiva there. Flying away from Kevan. And now Kevan locking up and it's a pandemonium effect. Leg pushing round and Kevan has gone off the track. And as if Brian hasn't had enough problems yet, he's had another one, unfortunately for him, and there's more. This race is not going well for Brian. With nearly 4 minutes left, that was chaos. Brian Pereira getting caught up in many incidents today. Unfortunate for him, but that could be quite the ending there for Brian Pereira as he finally gets by Suleik Mushin there. Going into the pits, yes, presumably to change off or fix the damage. But that was absolute chaos there for Brian Pereira. As you can see him following behind, I believe that's Savi Ratnayaka in the Sasyanet car there. Yes, it is Savi Ratnayaka. Kevan going wide. Suleik driving practically the wrong way on track. Try and spin the car around. And Brian Pereira had absolutely been launched by Savi Ratnayaka off into the grass, and that's another race ender. And as if his problems didn't end there, Brian gets nearly taken out by Sulek Mushin there. Oh dear. That was chaos. Winton Raceway giving us absolutely chaotic energy as of right now, but as it stands, Shivan Vitarana in P6, Tehane Ranga in P5, Buddhiga Chaturanga in P4, and your current top three, Shyama Mendes in P1, Denan Abesekara in P2, and Thiago Pereira in P3. Brian Pereira, unfortunately, in P14 now, after having fixed the repairs of his car, and Kevan Samarajiva also comes back on track. But here come Buddhiga Chaturanga and Tehane Ranga. I believe both of them are hoping that Kevan does not interfere. Yes, he does not. Moves out of the way, blue flag rules waved. And now they are free to race. As Tehane Ranga is looking mighty close to Buddhiga Chaturanga here. He's definitely going to send it up the inside and makes it stick. As he dips back to the racing line in order to cover off Buddhiga Chaturanga. There you go, Tehane Ranga in now in P4. Buddhiga Chaturanga now with the opportunity, or I should say responsibility, of chasing down Tehane Ranga in that APMC livery that ran for the F4 races that was hosted by CMSC's esports division, as well as my apologies there, everyone. The APMC also being a great success in terms of esports, running the F4 iRacing as well as AC. That livery, if you had tuned in, you'd know that Tehane Ranga also raced for Sri Lanka representing the esports division. As here we go, Kevan Samarajiva looks to be very close to Shivan Vitarana, and they aren't racing, but Kevan certainly seems to want to race right now. So this will be interesting to watch as Kevan is trying to get past Shivan Vitarana, maybe in an attempt to try and unlap himself and try and chase up the other drivers. But around 1 minute left on the clock here, everyone at home. We have Shyama Mendes currently in the lead, followed by Denan Abesekara. Kevan Samarajiva is wide. He's cooked it into the first corner. Maybe he's tried to late break, but Kevan Samarajiva has gone wide. Less than a minute to go, ladies and gentlemen, and now we have Shyama Mendes currently in P1, followed by Denan Abesekara in P2, Thiago in P3, Tehane Ranga with a charge up to P4, Buddhiga Chaturanga in P5, Shivan Vitarana in P6, Abdullah Ayaz from Bangladesh in P7, Avi Ratnayaka in P8, Praveen Peter in P9, and Sulek Mushin rounds off in P10. Currently, Shyama Mendes, the man, I believe he's going to set another lap. So we have one more lap to go. As you can see in the top left of your screens there, everyone at home, he has crossed the line before the timer could run out. So, there we go, the white flags waved. And in this game, the white flag signals last lap. Of course, it's not like what we know in standard motorsport, but in iRacing, the white flag, like in all American motorsport, the white flag signals the final lap. So, here we go. Shyama Mendes with a victory lap, essentially, round Winton Raceway here in Australia. The man who actually qualified in P1 has now got a chance to prove that he is the man to beat right now in this race. I'm sure put many hours into practice, and practice is paying off. In P2 as well, we have Denan Abesekara fighting his way up in a controller. Incredible effort once again from Denan Abesekara to race with a controller. And iRacing being a simulation, it is very difficult to race with a controller, but Denan shows that nothing is impossible, and he's up in P2, followed by Thiago Pereira in P3. As now we are riding with Shyama Mendes as our cameras follow the current race leader, and now your race winner Shyama Mendes will cross the line to win Heat 2 or Race 2 of Round 2 of the CMSC F4 Championship. Brilliant effort from Shyama Mendes there. And Denan Abesekara will also cross to follow P2. Wow, getting dicey on the start-finish straight. And Thiago Pereira, of course, in P3. There's your top three there, everyone at home. The Hanaranga with a fight up to P4 and an unfortunate race for Brian Pereira, who was dominant in race 1. Unfortunately got caught up in many incidents in race 2. But that is your race 2 complete, as Shevan Vitarana and Kevan Samarajiva are still going for a little bit of a battle here. I believe this is a race replay now. Yes, it is. Diego Pereira, oof, absolutely wide going into that apex there. But coming off valuable time in an attempt to try and catch up to the victory lap leaders. But that is your race 2 complete, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere just yet. We have one more race to follow. Stay tuned. All right, everyone. With around 30 seconds left on the session clock for warm up, it is now time to move towards the main race, the feature race of round 2 of the CMSC F4 Championship here on iRacing. Unlike the previous 2 races, once again, we'll explain. It'll be a 30-minute race or a 30-lap race, whichever comes first, I believe, with a mandatory pit stop. So, strategy now comes into the play here. Not just all-out racing. Now the drivers have to factor in strategies. So, who will come out on top? Only time will tell. Buckle up, everyone. It's time for the feature race. All right, everyone. As it stands, Shyamal Mendes. This follows the previous qualifying order we had at the start of the session. So, Shyamal Mendes. Sorry, my apologies. This will follow the previous race results. So, Shyamal Mendes will start in P1, followed by Denan Abesekara in P2, Thiago Pereira in P3, Tehan in P4, Buddiga in P5, Shaban in P6, Abdullah Ayaz in P7 as they're waiting for the flags to go green.
Green flag, green flag.
And we are under again for round here in the CMSC Championship. Everybody gets away nice and clean. Shyamal Mendes dominated the race start, but Denan Abesekara close behind, followed by Tejane Ranga, who has got the jump on Thiago Pereira there. Wait, where have we gone? Oh, there's chaos. We cut back to chaos. Yusuf Issam following, and Brian Pereira in P14. What has happened there again? And there's more chaos. Yusuf Issam off again. Brian Pereira, oh my goodness, it's chaos. But right now we're following Shyamal Mendes, Denan Abesekara and Tejane Ranga. Tehan getting extremely close to Denan there, closing it, very close to Denan actually. Oh dear. Let's stay on board this battle here for the top for P1. Denan Abesekara currently. This scene is very reminiscent of the Cars initial intro, where the top 3 are fighting for the glory. As it stands, 30 minutes ahead, everybody needs to look at the bigger picture. As it stands, Shyamal Mendes is in P1, followed by Denan in P2, and Tejane Ranga in P3. Tejane Ranga was close to Denan, but I believe Denan got the jump on him in a previous line. Denan still holding suit with a controller nonetheless against 2 wheel racers, I believe. But Tejane Ranga and Denan Abesekara, a rivalry forged in esports, one to watch, of course, from ACC as well as right now the iRacing series. So Shyamal Mendes, this wonderful bumper cam, and now on board the halo cam of Tejane Ranga, who's looking mighty close to Denan. Is he going to send a move on Budbika? No, he won't. Tehan is holding suit, but still Tehan is looking mighty close to Denan. Denan going a little wide there. Tehan getting a little line as Thiago dips a tire into the gravel trap there. That's not what he would have wanted. I said it last race, I'll say it again. I didn't get to say it this race actually. But Thiago's got a front row seat. This battle here with the bucket of popcorn in that cockpit. I hope, or I believe rather, Thiago is waiting for something to happen with these 2 drivers and for it to go his way. But Thiago is currently holding back, watching the battle unfold in front of him. But as it stands, Denan is giving Tehan quite the run. Not letting up, not letting go of that P2. He is dominant, or he really wants that P2. So let's see where this goes, as Tehan seems to be closing up on Denan with that slipstream. There we go. Tehan's looking for a tight line. Denan goes wide. He's driving the racing line as we cut away to the track. Sham Ahmed is still leading the way as Tehan and Denan near 3 tenths or 2 tenths separating the two drivers. What happened? Let's stay on board the fight for Denan and Tehan. Here we go. Riding on board the cockpit cam of Denan Abesekar. Contact between Tehan and Denan. Oh, a little too close for comfort there. And Thiago will capitalize on that mistake, unfortunately. But Denan, he is round. And that is it for Denan in this race. He will only drop to P5. But we need to see what went wrong there. I believe Denan hit the brakes earlier than Tehan would have expected. Yeah, there we go. And that sends Denan round into the wall or into the gravel trap, the outside of Winton Raceway. But that's Denan in P5, unfortunately. Now Thiago Pereira up in P3 after hanging back and just watching everything unfold in front of his eyes. Shehan Silva with a very distinct livery there as he's chasing after Denan Abesekara right now. Denan's fight is now in P5. But who knows? Let's see where he ends up, as he could gain the advantage going into the pit stop segment of this race. But as it stands, Denan unfortunately in P5 now, and Savirat Nayaka currently in P4 chasing after Thiago Pereira in P3. Right now, a good battle going on here between Abdullah Ayaz and Suleik Mushin. Very close to each other, actually. So, only point to tell, look at this train that's formed up here. Battle for P7, Suleik Mushin, Abdullah Ayaz, Sandeep Gunaratna, and Buddhika Chaturanga, all chasing after each other. As it stands, Abdullah Ayaz, the following of board, the Bangladeshi driver, who is in our CMSC series. And it's amazing to see international representation here as well. So just showcasing just how much talent there is in this series. Of course, Abdullah Ayaz also ran in the APMC that was held in Sri Lanka, hosted by the Sri Lanka karting circuit, Bandaragama and CMSC. The man who is very talented to race here is watching Buddhika Chaturanga and Sandeep Gunaratna go side by side. Is Buddhika Chaturanga going to go the long way around? He's pushed off track by Sandeep Gunaratna, but all clean racing there, the racing incident in my opinion at least. But I'll leave that up to the stewards as Buddhika Chaturanga tries to go down the inside of Sandeep Gunaratna, but not close enough. He's going to get much closer now as Sandeep Gunaratna making that car wider than it should be. And a brilliant defense masterclass here from Sandeep Gunaratna as well to hold off Buddhika Chaturanga, bringing Praveen Peter into the fight. These two drivers fighting, and there we go. From Buddhika Chaturanga pushing Sandeep Gunaratna wide and through Praveen Peter. My goodness. Praveen has capitalized on that, and now Praveen hungry for P10 or P9 as it seems. Trying to get past Buddhika Chaturanga now, going into the next corner. My goodness, Praveen Peter is wasting no time, and there goes Sandeep Chaturanga. My apologies, Sandeep Gunaratna. As he cooks it into the last corner, unfortunately for him. As we see briefly, a second there behind Praveen Peter making a move to Chaturanga, but forget that. Let's look at Suleik Mushin getting challenged by Abdullah Ayaz behind him in the number 53 car. Oh dear, there's Suleik Mushin round, and that's Abdullah Ayaz taken with him. Oh no, Suleik Mushin should have held the brakes there in my opinion, but my goodness, Abdullah Ayaz has also been taken out of the equation, and that's Buddhika Chaturanga and Praveen Peter that gained 2 positions there on Abdullah Ayaz and Suleik Mushin, unfortunately. Oh gosh, Abdullah Ayaz unfortunately getting caught up in that incident. But here comes Praveen Peter trying to make a move as he go on board. Buddhika Chaturanga. That's Praveen Peter who goes for the move. Will he make it stick? Yes, he does. Praveen Peter has gained a position on Buddhika Chaturanga and is now in P7, chasing after Shehan Silva. But Buddhika is not going to let that go easy, as Buddhika now sets his sights on chasing after that red-coloured F4 car of Praveen Peter. Praveen Peter goes wide, and there goes Buddhika Chaturanga keeping a clean. Praveen Peter's mistake has brought Buddhika Chaturanga back into the fight, and it's a drag race down the back straight into the penultimate corner. They're going to go side by side. Buddhika Chaturanga should get the better line, but Praveen Peter is not letting off, and Buddhika Chaturanga will retake Praveen Peter. What a move! This is brilliant racing here, everyone. Praveen Peter mistake cost him, and that brought Buddhika Chaturanga back into the fight. Buddhika Chaturanga sails round the outside of the double-ended hairpin and gets past Praveen Peter. Praveen Peter is now in P8 and Buddhika Chaturanga is now in P7. Brilliant racing here from the midfield pack. All these drivers very talented. They all have a shot at going for the win, but unfortunately incidents, anything, I mean, it's not up to their control, but we can just see how strong these drivers are. As now we're on board Denan Abesekara looking to challenge the likes of Savi Ratnayaka. A battle that had been going on a long time, unfortunately costing them earlier on in the race. But now Denan very close to Savi. Is he going to make a move on Savi? As he looks to the outside, Savi disappears for a second for netcode, and like magic he's back. Savi Ratnayaka is still managing to keep Denan off, and I say that. And look at the closing speed of Denan Abeseka. Now's the time to make a move, Denan. Here we go. He's going down the outside. Is he going to late break Savi Ratnayaka? He will. As they keep it side by side going into the corners, Denan just moves out just enough for Savi to reclaim the racing line. But Denan now moves to the inside. It's a dummy switchback from Denan Abeseka. Savi Ratnayaka into going into the inside, and Denan Abeseka sails round the outside of Savi Ratnayaka. Mind game being played in the second round. That a brilliant overtake set up by Denan Abeseka to trick Savi Ratnayaka into covering the inside and use the outside to his advantage. Brilliant racing there from Denan Abeseka in the number 88 car. And now Savi has to... Oh, I thought Savi lost the back end of his car there for a second there. But Savi now left to chase after Denan Abeseka. But he should not be fighting this much, because look who's closing in P8, P6. Shehan Silva getting oh so close to Savi Ratnayaka. Netcode really being a little bit of a problem here as Shehan cooks it a little wide, going into the final corner, but keeps it on track just enough to stay in the fight. My goodness, what racing we have here, everyone at home. Savi Ratnayaka getting duped by Denan Abeseka, and Denan showing absolute masterclass here currently in keeping a level head and retaining composure. As, hang on a minute, we see Praveen Peter got past Buddhika Chaturanga. I believe that move happened a while back, but here we go, another battle that we need to keep our eyes on. Praveen Peter versus Buddhika Chaturanga, and look behind them, Abdullah Ayaz as well in the fight. Kevan Samrajiva holding off Sandeep Gunaratna. Kevan in the top 10 as of right now, in 10th position. Has a lot to do himself to try and keep the likes of Sandeep Gunaratna at bay for the next nearly 16 minutes. Oh, my apologies. I believe that's 18 minutes on the clock. But yes, Kevan Samrajiva with a lot of work to do here. Try and keep off Sandeep Gunaratna as he's locking up, making Kevan's job way easier for him going into the race. Of course, this being a longer race, the drivers need to factor in strategy, whether they're going to go perform some lifting and coasting, LICO tactics. We are yet to see which driver jumps into the pits first. Is the undercut or overcut here successful? We do not know. All these questions should be answered in due time, as we currently watch on board Sandeep Gunaratna chasing after Kevan Samarajiva in the CMSC livery car up there, as Kevan also goes on a little bit of a lock up there. I believe Kevan is also on controller. There's a brief frames issue there. Apologies. But as it stands, Sandeep Gunaratne chasing after Kevan Samarajiva, who also decides to be a bit of net code, and we've also disappeared. Sandeep Gunaratne has disappeared. What has happened here on stream? As you wait to see what's going on.
I didn't play football or soccer or anything like that. Just tennis. I did that on and off for about 10 years and my whole family's into it.
Make no mistake, everyone at home, the race is still going on. I believe we've run into some technical difficulties, so please bear with us. Alright everyone, we are back. There was a brief packet loss and network disconnection, but we are back racing. And as it stands, the orders have changed as Sasi and Livery hoofs back onto his car. The order hasn't changed, it seems. We still have Shyama Mendes chasing away or running away in the lead, followed by Tehane Ranga in P2 and Thiago Pereira in P3, Denan in P4 and Savi Ratnayaka in P5. Jahan Silva in P6, Praveen Peter in P7, Abdullah Ayaz in P8, Buddhiga Chaturanga in P9, and Sulaik Mushin rounds off in P10. Oh dear, we've disappeared again. Please bear with us, everyone at home. We will be back shortly.
Good spectators, as you maintain safety gates and barriers at all times. So the spectator areas around the circuit are now.
All right, everyone, should be back right now. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but our fourth wall has got it all up and running once again. Kudos to the person behind the screen, behind the computer. Thank you for helping us get up and running. Should be ready to broadcast to you once again shortly. So please bear with us as we get everything sorted for the broadcast. Alright everyone, we are back underway, and as it stands the order hasn't shifted. To my memory, oh wait, it has. Brian Pereira is up in P6 now. So we are back underway, and thank you for waiting and sticking around. We have 8 minutes in the session as Savi goes wide and Buddhika Chaturanga takes extreme avoiding action. Brilliant reflex times there from Buddhika Chaturanga. Savi Ratnayaka unfortunately getting a little too hot-headed there going into the corner. Believe that was with old tires or new. Unfortunately, because of the broadcasting issue, we do not know if the drivers have made their pit stops or not. But we're just going to have to see where they come out. But as it stands right now, Shyama Mendes is in P1, followed by Tihana Ranga in P2. Teran Abesekar in P3 as Savi goes very wide. Thiago Pereira in P4. Shehan Silva in P5, Brian Pereira in P6, Savi Ratnayak at P7, and just out of your screens in the corner, Praveen Peter chasing him in P8. Quite the time jump we had in this race with the broadcasting issue earlier, but we are now back up and running as we are currently following Savi Ratnayak with 7 minutes to go in the session. I believe by now all the drivers would have made their pit stops. And Thiago, my apologies, Denan and Savi having quite the fallout since we last left them when we had the issue. But it seems as if some big incidents happened while we were gone. But Brian Pereira up in now P6, chasing after Shehan Silva in P5. Thiago Pereira unfortunately losing a position to Denan Abesekara in P3 right now, dropping to P4, the likes of Thiago Pereira. As it stands, all the drivers may have finished their pit stops. Denan Abesekara quite a ways back from chasing after Tehan Heranga, but Thiago relatively closer to Denan Abesekara, 3 seconds behind him. While it may not sound like much, that is certainly a lot. As you can see, Thiago just now appear in shot of Denan, and it is quite the race Thiago will have to try and catch up to Denan, but of course, Thiago knows his way around the racetrack or two, so only time will tell. But as it stands, only around 6 minutes left in our feature race, with all the drivers, I believe, having pitted already, having done their mandatory pit stops. Thiago Pereira still left to chase off Denan, and Tehane Ranga and Sherman Mendes running away from Denan Abesekara. But Brian Pereira getting very close to Shehan Silva. Shehan will have to keep a very close mind, and as well as getting close to Thiago Pereira. So he's going to have to maintain his composure as now we go on. Brian Pereira hunting down Shehan Silva in an attempt to try and gain more points here in the championship placings. Brian Pereira nearly 1 second off of Shehan Silva, and the gap is shrinking as time goes on. Brian Pereira sitting a near perfect time in his best time of 119.999, and Savi Ratnayak is sitting a 129 dead. So all the drivers currently are driving at the absolute limit of these on the refueled cars. So let's see where they come out. As it stands, Brian Pereira is inching that gap very close to Shehan Silva, and Thiago Pereira also running away from Brian Pereira and Shehan Silva. You can see the mini-map there on your screen, where Thiago is already at the first sharp right hand of the hairpin, and Shehan Silva and Brian Pereira locking up only just reached it, and there's Thiago. We can see, even though Thiago is slightly far away, the battle is still relatively close. It's still anybody's battle as it stands, but there we go. There's Shehan and there's Brian. So We're now riding on board Thiago Pereira with 4 minutes left on the clock. As you can see there, near top left of the screens there. As it stands, Thiago having to maintain absolute composure in an attempt to try and get that car over the line in one piece and try not to do anything costly that could ruin his race. And you know Thiago, he drives with a cool head and keeps it on track until the very end. So let's see where this takes us. Following on board, the leader currently, Shamal Mendes, setting an absolute screamer of a lap there with a 119.7 as his best. You can see that Shamal Mendes showing no signs of stopping now with nearly 2.5 minutes left to go in our session. Shamal Mendes, the uncatchable. This race has been uncatchable at all. I believe I'm making up words here as we go along, but Shamal Mendes keeping an absolutely cool head, being chased by... Whoa, hang on a minute. Was that Denan Abesekara being chased by a lapped car? Wait, hang on a minute. Brian Pereira is in pits. What's going on here? Oh no. There has been an incident and Brian Pereira taken out again. Or taken out, I say, had a mistake once again. Hans Silva getting very close on... Oh dear, that is... Oh, a catastrophic crash. That is a catastrophic crash there. Unfortunately for Shehan Silva, believe that is the end of the race for Brian Pereira and Shehan Silva. To get this far and have an incident this close, that must be painful for both Shehan Silva and Brian Pereira. I don't know what happened there. Oh dear, that is a deadly crash. My goodness. Shehan Silva and Brian Pereira unfortunately out of this race as it stands. But Tehane Ranga, Shama Mendes and Denan Abesekara still in the top three. Thiago Pereira in P4. As we go to 1 minute left, I believe there will be another lap after this, but it will all be dependent on whether Shama Mendes will cross that line first. But as it stands, Shama Mendes in P1, Tehane Ranga in P2, Denan Abesekara P3, Thiago Pereira P4, Savi Ratnayaka P5, Shavan Vittarana very close to Savi. That's yet to change in P6. Praveen Peter in P7, Abdullah Ayaz in P8, Buddhiga Chaturanga in P9, and Kevan Samarajiva in P10. There's your top 10, and I believe we are going to have one more racing lap here as Shama Mendes rounds the penultimate corner and now the final corner to come down the start-finish straight with 8 seconds left on the clock. Wait, it could be close. It could be close. I believe that is the final lap. There we go, white flag. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the final lap of the race as Shamal Mendes will now take the final lap. And oh no, there's chaos. Savi Ratnayaka in another incident. What happened there? Okay, that's... I cannot identify the car. Oh dear. Praveen Peter goes round hitting another car. So, not hitting, but Praveen Peter and the other car go around. And Savi Ratnayaka also gets caught up in the incident and gets held back too. Oh, it's not been a good day for Savi Ratnayaka as well, unfortunately. But now we are going to have the last few laps of racing. And there is your man in the lead currently, Shamal Mendes. Very distinct liveried car. Tehane Ranga chasing very close, 4 seconds behind. But we are now on the back straight, going into the final complex of corners. And for the final time, ladies and gentlemen, Shamal Mendes will round the penultimate corner. And now the final corner down to the start-finish straight. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Shamal Mendes who will win the feature race of round 2 of the CMSC F4 Championship, followed by Tehane Ranga in P2 and Denan Abesekara in P3. Can quickly get back on board. Denan Abesekara, there he is. Man on controller, rounds the final corner and will also do the celebratory wheel down the back straight to take P3. And Thiago Pereira will come round to take P4. And oh my goodness, Sivan Vitarana, that's a silver, but Pereira will take P4 here in the feature race of round 2 of the CMSC F4 Championship. Sivan Vitarana, there he is on track, will take P5, and there's Praveen Peter and Abdullah Ayaz. Oh wait, hang on a minute, are we going to see some late racing action here? Abdullah Ayaz maybe for a last minute overtake, he's seen it, he's seen the opportunity, but he decides not to take it because he'd rather keep it clean than risking both their races. That is a brilliant racer there. Praveen Peter and Abdullah Ayaz will cross in P6 and P7. And there's Padmaka Vijay Gunawardena in P12 also crossing the line right now. And there's, side by side action between Savirat Naik and Buddhika Chaturanga. Savirat Naik who takes it by a hair. My goodness, by just a front wing end plate. Savirat Naik and Buddhika Chaturanga takes it off of Buddhika Chaturanga. My goodness, that was a drag race to the finish. There's Sulaik Machine as well. Finish the race. Thiago Pereira and there they are, the meme duo. And okay, there's contact. Somebody get the race towards on him. That contact. But my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It has been a day of pandemonium and chaos. But that is your round 2 of the CMSC F4 Championship done and dusted. And now it will be a long wait until round 3. A well-deserved break for the drivers and the stewards alike. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us here on this stream. Thank you to CMSC for organizing this competition. Thank you to Chama Computers. Thank you to Next Level Racing Rigs. Thank you to iRacing as well for giving us the codes for this race. Once again, everyone at home, my name is Nevan Jayawardena. Thank you for joining us here for this stream. We'll see you all in the next one.